Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lubin School of Business. I'm Randy Preluk, the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Programs. Today, we have a wonderful event for you. 3 Lubin alumni are joining us. Maureen Maldari, CEO of the BAM Connection, Saj Sani, Chrome Partner Solution Engineering Lead for North America at Google, and Anna Krupitsky, Director of Faculty Appointments at the Borough of Manhattan Community College. They will share information about their careers and industries in this alumni spotlight. Here's the plan for the evening. First, Nicole Martens, one of our outstanding undergraduate students, will interview our alumni in a panel. After that, we'll divide into breakout sessions that are 7 minutes long, so you can interact more intimately with our panelists. Each session will be hosted by a Lubin faculty member, and we have Kathy Winstead from the marketing department, and Julia Eisenberg, Professor of Human Resources Management, to help us. After the panel, you'll be moved into the breakout rooms. Just hit accept, and that will take you in there. There will be a 1-minute warning before the groups change, so be prepared. I hope you enjoy the evening. I'd like to begin by presenting Nicole Martens. Nicole is majoring in Global Marketing Management with a minor in Fashion Marketing. She is president of the International Student Club and treasurer of the Advertising Club. Without further ado, I present Nicole Martens. Nicole?
Thank you, Dr. Preluk. It's great to be interviewing all 3 of you today. So we can start with Maureen. What is your current role and what are the major aspects of your position?
So first of all, thank you for inviting me to kind of share experiences. You know, my best memories of starting out in this career started at Pace Business School. So I am CEO of the BAM Connection, which is an independent ad agency. We're located in Dumbo, Brooklyn. My role as CEO is to oversee all aspects of the company, from financial to HR to client management to creativity and the output that our agency provides for the many brands that we serve. I always like to say it's kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, despite the title. But you know, so the advertising industry is, you know, a creative industry where we do strategic branding and develop creative on both the traditional and social side of the business. We also do massive amount of production. So we also touch a lot of different creative industries within the company.
All right, thank you so much. If Anna and Saj would like to, either one of you can go first on the same question.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. I thank you, Maureen, for that. I definitely really respect the jack of all trades, because that's really a talent in its own, and the expertise for that. I did have one small correction. A little over a year ago, I did change jobs. So I don't know, I'm not sure why LinkedIn is still coming up with my old job. But right now I'm the Vice President of Human Resources for Hudson College, just across the river in Jersey City, or technically remotely right now. And so in that role, I basically oversee the entire HR operations and programs and services and functions, and whatever HR needs are for about 1,000 employees of the college. So that's where I am right now. It's like I said, it's been a little over a year. It's my first leadership role of such a high caliber. I'm on cabinet, which means that I'm sort of on the executive team. And that in and of itself has certainly been such a growth for me personally and professionally, aside from just the technicalities and the discipline and my knowledge in terms of HR and everything that I have brought with my background, starting as a marketing major with Professor Prelek. I think it was, so I've always, I always went towards business, but I really didn't have a very clear idea as far as what I wanted to do. Marketing was definitely an exploration for me. One that I enjoyed very much because I have a creative side that I still use to this day. And so that was a really good fit in terms of advertising. I don't know, is there still an advertising major? There's so many different new terms. But I was the good old advertising. But I've certainly had what I think Sheryl Sandberg called like a monkey jungle of a career. And I went from marketing to finance to law at some point, and then I ended up back at Pace University in the human resources department. And that really started, and this was about 10 years ago now, and that really started my what I found to be really like, this is my thing. I really enjoyed working with people. I really enjoyed the higher education environment. So that was another aspect of HR. There was a little bit of a niche area. And so that's where kind of I started growing even more within that niche. So that's where I am. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Saj, if you would like to go and explain a little bit about your role and the aspect of your position.
Of course. Hey, everyone. My name is Saj, and thank you for having me, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to connect with some current students. So my name is Saj Atsani. I've been at Google for about 6 years. I am a technology person / business person, I guess, if that makes sense. And ultimately, my goal at my current job is to scale our business. I scale our business through channel partners. So these are all resellers of Google products. My day-to-day is focused on Chrome OS. This is your Chromebook, your Chrome operating system, your Chrome browser, G Suite, which I think Pace used for a little while and went off. So that's your Gmail products, Android, as well as Google Cloud products as well. So touch a lot of the business, touch a lot of the technology solutions that Google offers, and I try to scale it through in the business. And what I mean by scaling is recruit, technically savvy people who understand the solutions we offer, put them together, and then find solutions for customers. With COVID happening, our business has been pretty busy with everyone finding ways to work from home, people working out of the kitchen, me working out of my doorway here. We find interesting ways to get solutions to people's houses and make sure that they're compliant and they meet all their needs. Yeah, and before getting to Google, I spent about 8 years on Wall Street doing financial stuff. So it was interesting. Worked at Morgan Stanley for about 6 years, worked at BlackRock during the downturn, and then ultimately said, I like technology, and went to a small little startup that ultimately got acquired by Google, and here I am. So that's my story.
That's fantastic. If we can come back to Maureen's questions for all of you as well. How did you begin your career?
So this is actually my favorite question because it's entirely linked to Pace. So I was always interested in marketing and writing, and I thought I was going to be a journalist. And I went to Pace for my MBA in marketing management. And during my classes, I was actually taught by, I guess, Dr. Elaine Bernay, who I absolutely loved at the time. She's no longer with us, but she was a significant person in my life in kind of, directing me and bringing out my talents. And I was actually in a promotions class, and it was being taught in the evening. And it was a VP of marketing at the time, promotional marketing at Revlon. And, he said to me, I think you'd be really great in advertising. I see a lot of potential. And I was just like, really? I thought I was going to be a writer. And he said, I'd like you to meet a couple of people. And so I was, I really truly believe that this is a great opportunity for all of you here today, because networking is one of the most important things you'll do. because I took the meetings, and the meetings were with actual CEOs of companies. And, you know, it was a tremendous opportunity. And he introduced me to the CEO of a company. Unfortunately, a lot of agencies have changed over the years, and there's been a lot of holding companies, but it was called Benton & Bowles, was the agency. And he introduced me to the CEO at the time, and we met, had coffee, and it was like my first coffee meeting. And, you know, he took a liking to me, and I was really intrigued. And next thing I know, I was being offered a position to work on Procter & Gamble. So it was like, it happened very, very fast. You know, so you never know, is what I always say. You always should, you know, take opportunities in front of you, meet people, learn, you know, about different businesses that you have interest in. And that's how I actually started my career. I started my career working on Ivory for Procter & Gamble at Benton & Bowles after graduating from my PACE MBA.
Fantastic. And if you'd like to go next.
Sure. So as I mentioned, so I started as a marketing major at PACE, and I have to say that PACE really had a really significant impact on a couple of major milestones throughout my professional life. So while I was an undergraduate student, I really benefited from the Career Services Department. I had at least 2, if not 3 internships through that they would help me get. And one of them was in my senior year that ended up turning into a full-time role. And so that was a significant starting point for me. It was in the marketing department of a financial services company, like a major mutual fund financial services company. So that was one of the biggest ones, that not only did I graduate PACE on time, but I was very gainfully employed throughout my 4 years and upon graduation. And education was always important to me. And so I did end up going to law school actually after a year or 2 after I was working. And the decision was sort of interesting, but very serendipitous in that one of the VPs in this major financial services company, she had a law degree. And that was for me very surprising. Why would you have a law degree and work in a financial services company? But it really kind of made me open up in terms of, wow, you can do so many different things with education. So at the time, I did end up going, figuring out what to do to go to law school and getting into law school. And then working as a lawyer for a few years after that. And then the second major milestone for me was I wasn't really happy being a lawyer. I did not find it as meaningful as I thought I would. And so I wanted to go back to school, and so I ended up going back to PACE, to the public administration program. And nonprofit management. That would be my focus for the next couple of years, nonprofit management. And so, so that was the next big thing. PACE kind of allowed me to really explore what I found meaningful in my life. And so that was really impactful. Another serendipitous thing that happened, so as I was doing this graduate program at the time, and as I was thinking about, well, how do I not pay for this graduate program because I already had too many student loans. I ended up finding a graduate assistantship, and well, I guess it's not really randomly, but typically I thought graduate assistantships were, you were working with a faculty member, you were helping with their research, but it ended up being that the human resources department at Pace University was looking for a graduate assistant. And so I ended up there. And I ended up there for my last, as I was finishing my master's. And again, very coincidentally, as I was graduating, there were a few shifts in the HR department. My direct supervisor was moving across the country to California. My colleague was going out on maternity leave. And so I was really the thing that helped them keep everything together in the employee relations department. And so I was hired as an interim for a year, and then that position turned into a full-time role. And so I spent my next 5 years of my professional life at Pace University. So I was in the human resources department. I was in the academic affairs department a little bit, but in the HR faculty specialist role. But I really, basically throughout that exploration and being open to those opportunities, really made me find myself in terms of what it is that I find meaningful in a very gainful employment in an environment that I absolutely loved. I still miss Pace. So that's kind of, and that was 10 years ago. And we can talk more about the next 10 years, maybe in a different question. Thank you.
I don't know if Saj wants to touch on it. I know you touched on it a little bit before, but.
Yeah, so I think it was roughly 2010 when I started Pace as a part-time MBA student. I decided to go down a different route. At the time, I was working at Morgan Stanley between research and investment banking, only to realize I just wasn't enjoying my career. And I said, you know what, Morgan Stanley is going to pay for a good amount of the bill, so let me go ahead and take this, this MBA program. So I applied for the entrepreneurial studies program with Professor Bockenheimer. And that's where I kind of learned a lot about investments and, how to manage assets and the overall, Series A, Series B funding, which was always, it was exciting to me. And to Maureen's point around networking, that's where I sort of, started thinking like I needed to make a change in my career because I wasn't really happy with what I was doing. And then as I graduated from Pace, roughly around 2013, I said, you know what, screw this. I'm done with this. I want to go work for a startup. So I went for a startup, which was actually founded by a bunch of Morgan Stanley employees that I had grown close with over the years. So the 4 or 5 of us went there and started a business. Essentially was taking containers, for those of you that are tech savvy, for those of you that have an Android phone, they're all different flavors of Android, but how do we make all email and corporate assets look the same no matter which phone you have? So we went into that world and started doing containerized solutions. And then, Google came to us one day and said, hey, this looks pretty cool. How would you like to work on a project for us? Because we have the same problems. And then after 8 months, they said, you know what, bring your code base over and start working for us. I went through the same interview process as most folks, but I credit a lot of my success to my time at Pace, just because I learned so much. I learned a lot of core skills such as networking. For now, you'd think, evaluation sheets might not make sense, but when you actually start doing stuff, it makes a lot of sense. And understanding some of the challenges in the business, so how you can relate and add value as an employee to a business. So yeah, hopefully that helps.
I'm going to start with Saj again. What is the most challenging aspect of your position?
Honestly speaking, for me, it's just a constant changing of gears. Since I'm working with so many different partners through a given day, customers, partners, internally, I'm shifting from a product meeting to an executive meeting with the CIO of CDW. Then I'm shifting to a customer like JP Morgan Chase, for example, just an example randomly, where they're trying to roll out a solution. So that's one of the toughest challenges that I have, adjusting my mindset to be able to understand what their challenges are and what I need to deliver for that particular meeting that I have or whatever I'm doing at that point.
Of course. Anna, if you would like to go next.
In terms of the most challenging of my current position? Is that
yes.
the question? Okay. I have to say that probably the most challenging, but at the same time, the most rewarding is really people, from working with people on different levels and being able to know and anticipate where you are needed, where you are not needed, and how really what may be the best case scenario, because sometimes you do have to you are sort of the expert in a particular field at some point, and so you want to be assertive with your expertise, your advice, but at the same time you also need to be mindful and learn what's the best case scenario without taking it personally, really thinking sort of the bigger picture, because most companies, and in my experience most higher ed institutions, we all have a common goal. So everyone who works in a college or university will all have a common goal and mission. Most of us, that leads to education in some form or the other. We may have different constituents, we may have different kinds of students, different challenges, but we ultimately are on the same page. So being able to communicate that in a way that really makes you implement whatever it is that you feel is the best thing for this particular institution, to get people on board with you, to get management on board with you, to get your stakeholders on board with you, so that you do have the freedom to do whatever it is you need to do. At the same time, in my role, I also have to think about not just sort of the higher executive teams, but really everyone, all the employees, from the support staff to administrative staff, and thinking about what their needs may be and how we as an institution are meeting those needs. Sometimes it's as simple as, are we competitive with our salaries? And other times it's a little bit more complicated. There are cultural aspects in terms of what's the culture of the institution, in terms of recognition and appreciation. And do we have the kind of environment where people feel like they can express themselves, especially in our days when we're talking so much about inclusivity and equity and diversity? And so how are we taking that at every level of the institution? And all of that involves talking to people. So that I find the most challenging, but also the most rewarding when it actually works.
Of course, thank you. And if Maureen, you'd like to touch on that too?
Sure. So probably different positions in my life. I would answer the question differently. In my last role, when I ran global business at Gray, I would say the most challenging aspect of that position was global travel. I jumped time zones on a regular basis. So that was pretty frenetic and difficult to keep your bearings when you're moving, or you're moving time zones so rapidly. But if I really bring it to today and what what my position is today, I would probably answer very similarly to Anna, in that but in a slightly different way. People are actually the most challenging aspect of the job, right? Dealing with your employees, right? Especially now, during a very difficult time, people are remote. Some people are removed from their families. Some people are going back to their families. So I think that, and even in regular, more normal situations, it's very challenging, just understanding, different lifestyles, how people cope differently, with, time pressure, right? I work in an industry where we work to a lot of deadlines. Different people work differently against deadlines. So really understanding people, what makes each individual tick, so that you can actually, provide an ideal work environment. Because, that's my goal as I'm someone who is running my own company and independent. I want to make sure that people can thrive in their positions, and they're set up to do that well. So in order to do that well, I have to do my job well in understanding who they are and what they expect out of that role, and, where, their aspirations are.
Thank you for that. This is a question for all of you, and I wanted to just know, what should students think about when entering the workforce?
I mean, I'll take this one because I'll start it off at least because it's something that actually frustrates me a lot with students. You got to do your homework. You have to come to the table prepared. If you have an interview, understand that company, understand the people that work in that company. You have incredible tools today that didn't exist many years ago, right? So you could go on a LinkedIn, you could go on my Twitter, you could go on all of my social media, right? You could learn a lot about me. You could learn even more about my company. All you have to do is Google it, right? And you'll get the top 10 articles that have been written about the company in the last 6 weeks. So you have to do the homework. Once you do the homework in my industry, I'm often surprised when students come to interview and they haven't looked at the client list. They don't know who the clients are. Like that, go to the websites of the companies you're meeting with. Go learn about their clients if they're in a service industry. Take the time, have a point of view, look at the work, and really be curious. I think it's one of the most important skills that you could hone as a student, to be curious. It's the best time to do that. You have time. So learn as much as you can, ask a lot of questions, and really come, like I said, to the table prepared to get that job, to impress that person.
Anna, if you'd like to go next.
Sure. I definitely echo Maureen in terms of when you're preparing for an interview. It's so easy to find out about the person who will be interviewing you, or the organization or the department, or what their challenges may be, whether or not they've been on the news and for what, and kind of how that impacts that. I think that preparation is definitely will basically make you stand out. It will make you have questions for the interviewer that are more knowledgeable and more meaningful, and so will definitely make you stand out. Once you start the job, again, also kind of echoing Maureen, just first of all, be open and curious. I think curiosity is really a great trait to have, and if you don't have it, make it. Make yourself be curious, especially if you're starting out. And one other thing I would add, and that is in terms of thinking about, okay, where you are now and what does that mean for your kind of path, whatever that path may look like. Think about the people that you admire, especially in the workplace. Think about how did they get there. Thinking about what education they may have, what skills they have, and learn from them. Seek mentors, perhaps formal, perhaps informal. I think that is something that I wish I had done earlier in my career. Sought sort of these kind of regular conversations with people that knew a lot more than I did, but I can kind of ask questions, think about kind of my own career path and their career path, and how it is something that I may consider or may not consider for whatever reason. So that's the only addition that I would make in terms of think about making connections early. Part of it is networking, but it's really a little bit more than networking, because you really want to make meaningful connections in a way that where you have some common interests or common goals, or you admire something about the person and you want to learn from them. And that's probably the biggest compliment that you will ever give someone, when you tell them that, like, I maybe want to be like you, and everything that you do, how do I do it? How do I go about it? That's the best compliment that you can give them, and that's probably the best relationship that you will continue throughout however professional career growth you have.
I don't know if Sad wants to touch on that also.
Yeah, I'm going to echo the same thing that Maureen and they said the same thing, right? Like, be prepared, do your homework. You come in prepared. I would also say, don't be afraid to demonstrate your creative thinking. I know the interview process sometimes can be daunting. Especially coming out of school, you may not have much work experience, but show off your creativity, show off what you're thinking with examples. Maybe not concrete example that you've done before, but what you would do to solve a problem or how you would go about answering a question. Like, provide interesting examples. And the last thing I would probably say is, don't be afraid to ask for something. Like, don't be afraid to say, hey, I really want this job. Show your energy. That matters. So hopefully that helps. All those looking for jobs, their first job, they're moving into their workforce pretty soon.
All right. Thank you so much. And I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Preluk.
Thank you very much, Nicole and Maureen and Saj and Anna. That's really interesting information and helpful to everybody who's thinking about careers and moving in that direction. We're now going to break into groups, and I'm not sure how this is going to go, but we're going to give it a try. And some of us will move with the groups, and some of us will move between groups. We're going to have 7-minute breakout sessions, and I'm going to ask our leaders to let everybody introduce themselves and start a bit of a conversation just in general about the industry and the field.
I'm going to ask him how students can get a job at Google. What kinds of things does Google look for? What are they most interested in? And how can students prepare themselves if they're interested in working there?
Sort of piggybacking off of the previous answer, I think preparation would be it's really part of it, the key part of preparing for Google. But I think the key thing to take from there is what makes you different. We see hundreds of resumes. I personally see a few hundred resumes a day between my business and the cloud business. And the ones that stand out are the ones that did something differently, the ones that, took a minuscule idea and made it really big, or, created a product they saw that wasn't great and they pivoted and they did something different, right? The thinking, the mindset behind that, I think, is what I look for. And a lot of my colleagues look for the same thing when they look to hire at Google. So be different, be bold, and always bring examples, I think, to kind of show your creativity.
Great, thanks. Yes, Jamie.
Could you share a little bit of insight into the Google recruitment process? Because I would imagine it would be quite difficult to get a job there.
It's actually not as difficult as you may think it is, right? Over the years, Google has changed their recruiting policies. They've changed their questions, right? Like, you no longer ask, questions that are for engineers, for basic, individuals. One of the basic things that Google has done over the years is pivoted to an enterprise grade company now, right? So they sell a lot of products. So it's not a company full of engineers anymore, full of sales individuals, marketing individuals, relationship managers, account managers. There's a whole bunch of positions out there. I would say always maintain some sort of relationship with someone or networking. The best way to getting in there is to find someone to refer you. The campus recruiting is a big one as well. That's a big part of how you do. But if you simply just lob your resume over to, through the online system, then you're competing with the global pool, which is a little bit different, right? So make a lot of friends, attend these events. The Google office, hopefully once it reopens in Chelsea Market, if you guys are close, there are constant events there for everybody. So pop into one of those, throw your name on a list, and things can happen.
Great. Ava, you have a question. Would you like to ask it in person? I saw it in the chat.
Yeah, so I was wondering how Google was really impacted by the COVID pandemic. So are you guys gonna permanently adapt some of those work from home practices?
So for COVID, I'm home for the rest of the year. I probably won't be going back till April of next year at earliest. Things that we've done, obviously we're a cloud company, right? I can consume all my stuff, my work stuff over a phone. I can do it on a computer. So physically, I don't need to be in the office. But what we're doing is, in terms of social distancing, we had just gone to a trade desk model where it was the opposite of social distancing. We're on top of each other because the hiring was so great, so quickly. But now they are, at least from what I understand, is that they're spacing desks out. They're putting each dividers. They're asking employees to rotate you know, coming into the office. So I saw the 1-minute warning. So you go in for 2 days, then you take 3 days off. Someone else will go in, or you have the full luxury of working from home. So that's how. And then obviously temperature scanners throughout the building and all that good stuff to make sure everyone is safe.
So hello, everyone.
Yeah, if I may, I mean, hi, Maureen. My name is Pradeep. I'm a faculty member in the marketing department, also the chair of the department. Welcome. Thank you for doing this, and congratulations on your role.
Yeah.
Very proud of you as a PACE alum. So what suggestions and advice would you give students as they graduate in terms of skills sets that they need outside of the classroom? I'm asking in terms of soft skills. I'm asking in terms of hard skills, technical skills. So what would you look for in your, you know, if you're looking for somebody at the undergraduate level?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you know, one of the skills that really is important right now, especially, is, you know, resilience. You know, don't take it too much to heart as you go out there and you're honing your interviewing skills and meeting people, because, you know, a lot of companies are going through transitions at this point. So don't lose hope. Know that it's coming back, and so, you know, keep trying is what I would say. I'd also say that, you know, I said this at the beginning, you know, it's so easy to get a check plus if you do your homework. It's like you're introducing yourself, and, you know, you have that opportunity right in front of you, and you could lose it in 30 seconds. 30, that even less, actually. You could lose it, you know, almost immediately if you don't know the person you're talking to. You know, someone actually once sitting across from me, you know, asked me, you know, how do I feel working for this company? You know, and I was a little taken aback. I'm saying, working for this company. Well, tell me what you mean by that. Well, you know, do you like your boss? And then I was just like, you know, that's so sad. I said it to the person. I said, that is a very sad question, right? Because you didn't do your homework. I'm the CEO of the company. I don't work.
Oh my God.
So I'm often really surprised and disappointed. I mean, I've met a lot of local kids, you know, even just in the New York area, that have come from St. Francis, some from Pace. You know, and it's particularly disappointing to me when I meet someone from Pace who hasn't done their homework, you know, not even a little bit, you know. So I think really developing, again, I know I don't want it to be an overused word, but, you know, having enough passion within yourself to be curious, to like say, you know, I have an interest in this area, and I'm going to learn everything that I can about it to impress this person that I'm talking with, right? I think that that's so critical. That takes you so far in an interview, it would blow your mind. Because so many people don't. So you could actually, unfortunately, you know, we live in a world where so many people are not doing it, that when you do it, you really stand out. You know?
Thank you, yeah.
I have a question.
Want to introduce themselves and ask a question? Oh, hi, Jamie.
Jamie has a question.
I think there's a delay. It's okay.
Okay.
So hi, Maureen. I'm Jamie. I'm doing a one-year study abroad program from Australia. So technically I'm a freshman at Pace, but I'm actually a senior. A little bit strange. I'm aiming to stay here. I'm just wondering, I'm on your website now, and I just see you have one job available on the career section. Do you offer any internships or anything?
So yes, we do. And I often interview a lot of PACE students during the year, and you know, be happy to talk. We don't have any summer internships now, because we usually start those much earlier. You know, but we do keep internships going, you know, throughout the year for, you know, more local students in our area. So it's certainly something that, you know, you should follow up on.
Okay, thank you.
We talked a lot about some of Maureen's clients, which are really interesting. Maureen, if you'd like to talk about, again, some of the interesting.
Oh, I have a 1-minute warning. We handle a lot of different categories of business. We do Yellowtail from Australia. So we have a nice mix of clients. I'm especially passionate about some of the more community-minded work that we do. We work on a fentanyl awareness campaign. Fentanyl kills. You could find that on social media. That really brings a greater education to fentanyl abuse, and that's like street drugs laced with fentanyl. Once we've been doing it, we've been working on the campaign for 2 years. I said, it took us to the White House, where we sat on the board of opioid abuse, which has become a passion, right? When you can, affect consumer behaviors and oops, what's happening here? Something just popped up. Breakout room one.
And then I think we'll end up being thrown out of the room again.
Okay. It's just something just on my screen that's telling me that there's a breakout room. So yes, those kinds of marketing efforts that we're involved in outside of, we work on first response. We work with Church and Dwight on first response pregnancy and a whole bunch of their female health brands. We work with Bausch and Lomb on their eye care brands. So we have a nice collection, and we're also working in the cannabis industry, which is, I always say I'd like to always have a category that's, allowing us to make breakthroughs in the industry, and kind of, have our learning curve.
If every presenter could give a quick short list of things that the students could really focus on when preparing for interviews, for internships and jobs. Just a few things that they really should focus on.
I'll just start. First, go to the website of the company you're interviewing with. Learn about what they're doing, their point of view, and the key people in their company. When you get to the key people in the company, go to LinkedIn, go to, Twitter, look up each of these people, see what they're about. Understand, do you have connections with them? Do you agree with what they talk about? Do you have a point of view? Create that point of view. Then, do a very simple Google search. Very, very simple. Put the company in, put the people in, Google them. And then you'll be probably good 70% of the way there, right? And then you'll fill in all the blanks on, depending on what it is you're interviewing for. Know the position you're interviewing for. Understand what that job is all about. If you could talk to people that have been in that job before you go on the interview, go for it, because that'll better prepare you to talk about the skill set of that job. I probably can keep going, but I would like to give an opportunity to other people. So Anna, feel free.
I would definitely add, it's especially with LinkedIn, see who else is in the company and reach out to them, ask them about the position. I've done that before. A lot of people are really open to it. That's why they're on LinkedIn. Another part that I find very helpful is, especially for interview purposes, think about how you're presenting yourself, and not necessarily in terms of like appearance, in terms of what you're wearing, although that's sometimes important, but only to the point of, are you going to be the most confident self? Are you going to be presenting your best self in this situation? Because confidence really makes you stand out. So whatever it is, whether it's like your elephant lucky charm or something like that, or it's like that pink tie or that brooch or whatever it is, think about how you're presenting yourself, not just through your clothing, but in terms of your persona. Are you being assertive? Are you a good listener to what the interviewer may be asking you? So that's part of the preparation, and also I would say part of the cultural fit. Because part of the interview is The company is looking to see whether you're a good fit for the company, but you are also seeing whether this company is a good fit for you. Some people are not everyone is meant to work at Goldman Sachs, and that's a great company, but it has a certain culture. Startups, whole different story. So just be aware, and that's part of the research that I think Maureen that's a really the primary point. Do your research, but there are a lot of different aspects as far as what you can do with that research in terms of how you're presenting yourself and how you're planning for your interview.
Yep, as I say in Google, +1 to all of that, and I will just add what makes you different. I think that's the key part of what a lot of companies are looking for. What value are you bringing? What creativeness are you bringing that's different from others? I think that's a big part of what a lot of employers are looking for, at least from Google perspective. That's what we're looking for.
Well, I just want to say thank you to everyone for attending our Alumni Spotlight, and thank you to Maureen, Saj, and Anna for your participation and your insights and your patience in moving from room to room. Also, I want to special thanks to Nicole Martens for volunteering to host the panel, and the faculty for our breakout rooms, Kathy and Julia, and of course, Fallon and Anna for all your help as well. So I hope everybody has an enjoyable rest of the summer. If you want to get in touch with anybody on our panel or with me, please feel free to do so. You can email me at rpreluck@pace.edu. And thanks again. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you, Randy, as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You too. Have a great day.
Have a lovely night.
Thank you.
Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. It was great.
Thank you. So much
Thank
fun.
you.